He reads very well.
Okay, welcome everyone to the Building and Grounds meeting. We'll begin by approving the minutes. Mr. Strainer on the motion, Mr. Bean on the second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. You want to start with solid waste?
Yeah.
Okay, what do we have, Kevin?
So for action agenda items, we don't have anything this month. We do have information for discussion and review. The first one will be, and I think Scott and I will kind of tag team this.
Yeah.
First one will be a hauling update. So as all the towns know, we've been hauling day in and day out. So we've been fairly busy. We played a lot of catch up at the beginning of the year because the vendors that we had previously we left some containers behind that they didn't empty, which they probably should have before the first of the year. With that being said, we think we have finally caught up and we're on a steady pace. The issue that Scott and I are finding now is that all three of my drivers are going day in and day out. There's not a break for any one of them. And as you recall, one of them is also the auto mechanic who fixes or maintains the containers as well. And I'll let Scott kind of jump in, but the bottom line is we're seeing is that we can certainly right now continue to haul and stay on getting the containers removed from each one of the facilities and getting them dumped. The problem is I'm not having enough time to fix any container. So if I lose a container, I'm good that I have some backups. But if I lose a container, then I'm in trouble because I don't have the time to get it fixed. So Scott and I looked at this and we've been going through this probably for about a week, couple weeks now. And we've determined that I'm most likely almost 100% sure that we are going to come back and ask for another driver position for that. With that being said, there's two things that we can tell you, and I'll let you talk to the grant if you'd like. So I'm going to turn it over to the.
Sure, Scott.
Yeah. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, so as we've started hauling, I'm thinking of what are the things we anticipated, in starting this new endeavor, and what are the things that we didn't anticipate. One, as Kevin said, was maybe starting off a little bit behind with the previous vendor. But I do think, the number of hauls we anticipated based on the previous year was about 1,500 for the year, which equates to about 125 hauls per month. We're kind of right in that zone right now. We're now keeping up, but obviously we're going to be looking toward the busier months. And it's a pretty lean operation where even with 2 new trucks, we've had some electrical gremlins that potentially could take them offline. We have the older trucks, which already had a breakdown one. So, and it's been taken care of, but again, just there's not a lot of capacity for unforeseen situations, but right now.
And just to kind of add on to that, as you all recall, I mean, we did have Waste Management or Casella or Ace Carting, whomever it may have been. They don't have 3 trucks. They have a fleet of 10 to 15 trucks. So if they were doing, a haul for the town of Horican or something like that, if one of their trucks went down, they had another one they could throw right up there in a heartbeat. We do not have that. We have what we consider 2.5 trucks with the 2 brand new ones and the old ones. So that has an impact to us. And that's, I'll let you talk to the plan.
Yeah. And on the plus side, so we are getting oversight. So there's containers that maybe Waste Management was not telling us, oh, this container, the bottom's rusted. Like we weren't getting that feedback. So we are now tracking like every container. We know where they are. We have a better idea of how to strategically look at, okay, X number of containers are going to need to be replaced. We're getting better data. I feel like we're building relationships with transfer stations. I did send out, we're trying to get a group of transfer station operators as well as any supervisors to come to a late February, early March meeting just to talk through how things have been going, how we can improve, how we can better kind of streamline things. So I think that's on the plus side. And then we also, do you want to mention the grant?
Yes, absolutely.
So working with the planning department, there's a local government efficiency grant that we're going to be submitting for today. And it's for kind of municipalities working together. It's a grant that is a 90%, 10%, so 90% would be the state. And we're asking for a truck plus a additional driver position to be funded for 3 years. I think our planning department feels like we have a good chance of getting that grant. We're gonna be submitting, it's due today by 4, we should have it submitted probably this afternoon.
And I'll add on to that, with that being said, and as I said earlier, based on our discussion, is we feel we still, regardless of what this grant is, we're still gonna need that driver, and eventually we're still gonna need that truck. It is a good shift. I think we do have a fairly good chance of getting this, although time frame, I think discussions with Ethan at planning, I'm not sure.
We didn't get a firm answer.
Okay. So we don't have a firm answer, but we certainly put it in as, yes, the county may have to fund this, but if we get that grant, that'll be a 3-year funding of personnel and that, and then it would fall back on the county again, after that, so.
One other point, just that now that I've had a little time to kind of think through, is we probably have a mechanism for the next year to better predict things like C&D. So I talked to Johnsburg and they're like, oh, the Copperfield Inn is doing a renovation, Garnet Hill Lodge is doing a renovation. So I feel like I'll be better equipped to reach out to say, hey, what is on the horizon as far as, construction projects that may impact the amount of volume going through transfer stations. So I think there's a lot of good things that will come about through this communication with the transfer stations, but yeah, already thinking toward the following year and how we can be better equipped for any kind of unknowns that may pop up.
And we've discussed this, those building renovations, especially at those size places, that changes the scenario for us, because that's a lot of material in a very short period of time. And we're getting the call saying, hey, our C&D is full. I mean, it doesn't take more than 2 tandem loads of something to come into one of the transfer stations and a container is full, and we have to get there to pick it up. I know we've discussed this before. John Stroud is here. The town of Queensbury doesn't take more than a cubic yard of C&D material. Anything more, they push the contractors or even households that they should be taking it to Green Ridge facility or Hiram Hollow or something on their own, that it's a maximum of 1 cubic yard in the town of Queensbury. So that certainly would reduce it for us if you had the contractors kind of take their material down there. But we're not saying do that, we're just saying it would certainly change. But if we don't know when those construction projects take place, puts us at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's going to be a period of time here to get all the bumps out of the road, so to speak. But I think what's the lag time on that truck? I mean, forget about the funding. If you ordered it today.
So, and I can talk to that fairly quickly. So I was at the New York State County Highway Superintendent Association conference this week. Of course, they have all the affiliates and vendors there. I got a chance to speak to several truck vendors who have roll-off trucks, container trucks, packer trucks. They have them on lots right now. They have them that we could certainly purchase one tomorrow if we wanted to, and it would be here within 30 days. That's how we were fortunate enough with our other trucks. And these are ones that someone else might have ordered, but it took so long. It's sitting on a lot now waiting to be purchased. So one of the manufacturers I talked to had 10 trucks available at this time. So that turnaround would be fairly quick if I had the funding to do it.
If you had the funding, and I think, but in terms of the towns that are participating in this program, I think that, is one of the towns participating in this program. I think that, it's at a certain point, you have to make a decision, right? No, we need that truck and we need it now. And now for down the road, you get a grant, and then that's not a bad thing, because you may need another one, right? Just to back up the ones that you have. So, I mean, I think that you need to be aimed at what your minimum fleet size needs to be. And Now, how you pay for it, I mean, that's something I think you need to work out with the treasurer and with Frank and because I don't think it's not something that would be borne by the county, it would be borne by the participating municipalities.
And just one other thought, obviously, when we built this, we tried to build it lean, you know, that the county was kind of breaking even. The savings obviously was a big motivation for the towns. We still can absorb, for example, we've been dividing the truck cost over 10 years, so a $250,000 truck would add theoretically $25,000 per year to the program. That could be absorbed over 1,500 hauls. So, you know, even if we do have another truck and driver, it still looks like we should be a savings.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Yes. Yep.
Plus, I think that performance, I think, becomes, you know, just as important. I mean, we were beginning to have issues with performance in terms of pickup with private haulers and things, and so it's, you know, if we can get to a place where we know that we can get the job done, I think that's very important.
And again, this was trial by error. I mean, we didn't know. Well, we did hauling. We did hauling for the county center and other places. We didn't know what this would be like. We certainly had an idea going into it, and as Scott said, he's starting to learn a lot more fairly quickly. So, but we think, you know, that extra person, that one more truck, we will certainly be fine. That would give us a fleet of 3 new trucks. We have the older truck. If we happen to get the grant, to get another, that would certainly help us. So that truck that we have, the old truck, is a 2010, 14 years old already, and it's got a significant number of miles on it. So.
Yeah, I don't think you could build a program on that. I think you have to have a certain standard, right? All right, I see the treasurer, where you looking to? Sure, go ahead.
I think, Scott hit a 250,000 is the approximate cost of the truck.
Give or take, yep.
And then the headcount would be approximately.
I'm sorry, say it.
The full-time person.
The individual, I think we figured it was with benefits on an average of about 66,000 a
Yep.
year.
Yes, I do have a question. I can't remember what it is at this time. Oh, okay, yes, the construction debris. Is that something we want to eliminate from our hauling and have people use private haulers to do that? I mean, do we make money doing this or do we lose money?
Go ahead.
So we don't lose money doing it. It just, again, as Scott spoke to, when someplace like the Copperfield Inn or something else does a big construction job, that fills those C&D containers in the town of Johnsburg just like that. So then it's where we may have been scheduled to do something in Lake Luzerne or in Oregon. I get the call from Johnsburg saying our C&D is already filled. We have to get to Johnsburg, so they have it for other people to use it. They don't have that extra container necessarily, although I think they have 2. It's several of the transfer stations have a couple containers for C&D, but it doesn't take much for them to do it. But I don't think we should, because C&D was part of this. We included this as part of our analysis when we did this at the beginning. So no, I don't think we should remove C&D. It's, again, the town of Queensbury does it each transfer station does it a little bit differently. Some allow the max of a cubic yard, others allow contractors to come in and use it. And that's not upon me, that's upon the town supervisors to make that decision of whether or not they want to make that change. We will certainly keep up, but it's not just C&D. I mean, we're keeping up now with the hauls that we have, but we're not able to do the repairs. When we get into the summer, when, you know, 50, 60, 70, 100,000 more people come to Warren County, it'll be very hard for us to keep up. And during the summer months, I would have to have, and typically what ends up happening, I'll give you a town of Queensbury, for example. I would be there all day long, at least one day a week in the Ridge Road and one day a week in Luzerne, taking their containers back and forth.
That's 2 municipalities that are using that though.
Yes.
And actually probably a few other outreach people that use those
There-
facilities.
It could be, but that's just it. I mean, we work with Rich very well at the town of Queensbury, but he's even said to us, you know, come summer, your truck's gonna be here and it's gonna be back and forth all day long. And that truck will not be able to go to any other transfer station, because we'll have to get the ones done for them so they can be prepared for the week. they're the ones that are open much more than most other.
they're just closed on Mondays.
Right,
Kevin?
Well, it's a flip flop too.
And they flip between Ridge.
Yeah,
and Worcester.
Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday or Queensbury and then or Ridge Road. And then the other days they're at West Glens Falls.
I just, and I'm
Sure.
billing, you want the check sent to the treasurer's office, correct?
Yeah, so we'll invoice, so we're paying,
No, I got
Yeah,
the
yeah.
invoice, but I didn't see where. Maybe you wanna note that.
Yeah,
send
yeah.
it To the treasurer.
Okay.
The other thing is, we got the amount, but we didn't get the weigh ticket.
okay,
And I'm not sure if from an auditor standpoint, we're paying.
Yep.
To 10 tons in a container, but I think maybe we should get a copy of the weigh
Yep.
tickets too. Just in case somebody question why you're paying for 10 tons. I mean, when we get salt, we know how many pounds of salt they're bringing.
so we,
Just a thought.
yeah, we certainly have all those slips
Yeah.
because the drivers are getting them and because they need to know every time they're running back and forth, which town it's for. So they're giving those slips to Scott, so we can certainly provide those as copies to all the towns as well. And as far as being paid to the treasurer's office, we're okay with that as long as Scott knows that the invoices are being paid and that if somebody's behind or something on an invoice, we need to know if it's going to you, and we don't know that.
So I have another question.
Sure, Frank.
Um,
Sure, Dave.
The drivers for these trucks, has it been difficult to get drivers with a CDL license?
No, I was fortunate that an individual who worked for me who retired came back to work part-time. I had one of my individuals in one of my shops come back.
Wait, it's time for church.
I had an individual in one of my other shops who decided that he wanted to move to the solid waste division. So I have somebody right now, and certainly, as you all know, we've been bringing individuals in here as MEO lights, and we've been doing the training through the BOS program for them to become certified in entry-level driver training and to get their CDLs.
Okay, so now we're gonna haul Monday through Friday, no weekends.
We're not hauling on the weekends.
Okay, and what do we do when these people need time off?
That's
Yeah,
part of
so-
this needing another person. Now, I certainly have other individuals within the county that have CDLs, because everyone who drives a plow truck. The problem is, the solid waste is under the A code. Most of those other drivers are the D code, so the D code is going to have to pay back the A code too, or the A code is gonna have to pay back the D code for.
What's A, D code, I don't understand that.
One's a general fund and then one's the county road
Oh,
fund.
okay.
So, and I can't use an individual from the county road fund to do, I will say, general fund work unless we pay that code. Or the general fund pays the D fund back, so. But I can certainly grab another driver to do that work.
Okay, just wondering.
Yeah, I think we need to move along, but I would say that if you're going to need legislation to acquire that truck, forget the grant for the moment, because maybe we get it, maybe we don't, but if you're gonna need legislation on that, I would get it in front of the board like soon. In other words, that that way there's authorization to purchase the truck, and then the money people know that that the repayment on the truck is going to come from whatever code it needs to come from. You follow?
Right.
And I don't want to find ourselves where, whatever we need to put in place to be able to make a move, let's put it in place.
I would propose, and Scott and I had talked about this, I'm certainly not gonna bring it today, and I'm not gonna try to put it on the floor in front of the board. We have a little time, because we know it's a slow time of the year for us, so let Scott and I put something together to talk with budget officer as well as the treasurer as to what we'll need in front of that grant, and then we'll bring it back next committee.
Okay, it sounds like a plan. Very good. All right, what's next?
So working group, and these are connected, probably 2, 3, and 4 are connected. So the working group has been great. We've been meeting monthly. Next to that is the fact that we did get the approval for the food scrap pilot grant. Sounds like there's gonna be a bit of a lag between knowing that we got it and getting the actual contract
Contract
from
in
the
place.
state. So right now, we're thinking through how can we most effectively roll this out to the public and make sure we're all on the same page. So the good thing is the working group, which consists of supervisors and some of our local nonprofit groups, we're all in agreement that we want to be a unified front in the messaging. That being said, there are details that we need to work out. So I've reached out to Don Lehman just to talk about how do we strategically kind of roll out the details of this plan? As well as with the working group, we're kind of working together. We have another meeting coming up early February. But there's still some of the details that need to be worked out. We think initially we were hoping we could start accepting food scraps, in May or June, but I think it's really dependent on the timing of the contract. So we're working closely. There's a lot of excitement, but we're also trying not to make sure we're not, promising anything that's not relevant to working closely with what was approved in the state work plan. So yeah, I feel good, but there's still some details to be worked out. I have had a lot of different, Kevin as well, have had different kind of organizations or businesses that have kind of reached out that seem like they're interested. So we may find we get more interest than we have capacity for, but that's good too, to know that there may be more demand than we had initially anticipated.
Once again, where are we taking these scraps right now?
So we're not taking them anywhere yet, but the piece of property was identified kind of east of the airport, Stone Quarry Road.
Well, where are the people at the farmer's market taking it?
So they're distributing it to other farms.
Oh, okay.
So it's a pretty small scale right now. They're just kind of putting it back in the system, but I feel like they've got to a point where they feel like maybe they can't keep doing what they're
It was
doing.
rather large the last time, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah. So we're thinking for the pilot, the capacity that we kind of envisioned was 2 to 3 tons of food scraps per week. So we have to look at the number of households. You can estimate that it's about 8 pounds a week for a household. And then we're trying to balance that with getting a couple of business partners, but we need to make sure we have the sizing right. So we're not taking in more than we can process, but so we're kind of working through those details.
Good, very good. It seems to be moving forward. Go ahead. Next.
Just recyclables update. So we've been talking about the fact that we have these recyclable commodities at the transfer station that we're currently paying $90 a ton to dispose of. Most of those commodities have value. So we've been, working on how can we connect directly to those markets and actually generate income. We submitted a Swiffer grant with the EPA, which is solid waste infrastructure for recycling. So we submitted the 1.4 million grant to construct a facility that could bale these commodities. And in addition, that we would partner with kind of a vendor that specializes in these commodities. So we submitted that. We probably won't even hear anything till May or June on that. The earliest would be probably, early 2026 that we would be able to start on that.
Okay. Is that it? I should have offered the privilege of the floor to anyone wishing to address the committee at this time. All right, now let's move on. What's the next? Parks and Rec? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dean, you want to? All right, Dean, we're all yours.
All right, thank you very much. 2 action items for today. The first is a request to amend the budget, which is to take some funds from donation from the trust, right here on Reso form number 7. We wish to amend the 25 up on the farm budget with a donation from the Lewis Charitable Trust for 1,800. And as stated, appropriation code .413 for $1,800 revenue code is 0.2706.
Okay. Move this forward. Mr. Bruno on the motion, Mr. Bean on the second. Any further discussion? We'll certainly send out appropriate thank you letters.
I just have a quick, what's this Lewis here at C?
The Lewis Foundation.
Oh, that's at the foundation.
Yes, the foundation. Yep.
All right then, are we ready for the question to accept the funds? All those in, and amend the budget, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Next item.
Thank you. Second item is a request for amended contract. We have actually Andrew Pachetti is here today, but we look forward to extending the Adirondack Lamp contract up at the Warren County Fairgrounds. We've had a change in venue. We no longer have the Warrensburg Bike Week, unfortunately. That program disbanded, but we have the opportunity to expand the contract with Adirondack Lamp, which would continue a revenue stream throughout that period of time as well. Oh, I apologize. I should read through. For the purpose of commencing May 13th and running through September 13th, which adds an entire month to that track.
Yeah, so I'll just add on real quick. So Warrensburg Bike Rally went through the end of last year and they had told us at the end of the 2024 season that this would most likely be their last year to use the fairgrounds. So Andrew, I believe, found out about that, and Andrew's here to chat a little bit with us. He found out about it and asked if he could certainly extend back to the time that they were there. In fact, I think you're gonna even come a week before they would have normally been there for this.
Yeah.
But so we feel that it's a plus. It certainly keeps a revenue coming to us, maybe even a little bit more than we had with the Warrensburg Bike Rally. So Dean and I discussed it, and I said, yes, let's bring it through committee. I think the committee would approve it as well, but if you allow, Andrew's here to.
Sure,
chat with
Andrew.
us about it.
Yes, good morning. Thanks for letting me come here. So yeah, as Dean had mentioned, the opportunity came about. I've never been able to actually occupy the fairgrounds and have a longer season for reservations, like a typical campground or, as we get into this season. So having that could be beneficial for us. It typically takes us 10 days to come out there, 10 to 14 days to set everything up and build that campground. So I would have to set up as early as May 13th with hopes to be open and alive for Memorial Day weekend. And that would give us that week, which coincides with the Americade too this year as well. So it could be beneficial for us to try this to see if it's something that helps draw more revenue and tourism up to the area for our business and for the area. So having that additional month, I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to see if we can make that work for us.
Now, Kevin, our existing contract, is there a term on that?
So
This is the last of the
this is the
3-year term.
last of the 3-year term is this year for 2025.
All right, so you'll be coming forward with something at some point in time.
Sometime this year, depending on how, Andrew will do us towards the end of the year in 2025 and let us know whether he wants to renew for 26 or not. Or for even another 3-year period.
So basically, you'll just amend the permit to allow them to access the site sooner.
We'll amend the permit, the contract will have to be amended, and then there would be, of course, I think, and Dean, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say it was $250 a day. And then there was always a 3% increase every year, which I think originally would have been worked out to be somewhere around 27,000 this year, but with this extension, I think it brings us to $31,930 for the year.
Okay, so the contract will have to be amended.
Correct, and that's.
And that's the question before the committee. And Chair, I'll get a motion bring this forward for consideration. Mr. Strainer, Mr. Merlino on the second discussion. Well, we certainly thank you for coming by today. And
There's actually one more point too that I would like to bring up too.
okay,
Hosting an event July, I think it's the 12th or 11th, it's Saturday. Looking to possibly do fireworks for that, which would be probably in the parking lot across between us and the nursing home, and it would be through Santori, which is the ones that host for the Lake George. So they would handle all the permitting and everything. The spacing is there. They just basically need a blessing and the okay to be able to use that property since it's not my property to use. So I just wanted to put that out there as something that we can look into as well.
Yeah. Have you run that by, your local zoning officer, fireworks?
So as far as I know, Santori is the one that handles all the permitting and everything that they do. So
They do, but
they do all-
each town, I don't know what the regulations are in Warrensburg. You have rules, yeah, and I guess what I'm saying is that each municipality has their rules. They
Okay.
don't want them on certain days, they don't want them at certain time, they want them, school days, different things.
Yes.
Maybe, we're the property owner, you're asking us if it's okay to utilize the property for fireworks, but it would seem to me any action we would take would be to assume that you've achieved a local permit to be able to do
Correct.
so.
Yes. Yeah. So if I'm told no from that point, then we just kill it at that point. But
Yeah, so I'll just add on, through us, it would be a facilities use permit for them to use this site, but we would certainly require ahead of that facilities use permit that they have all the proper permitting from the town of Warrensburg. And if it does get approved, this will be a nice fireworks show for our residents at Countryside Nursing Home.
We will tell them ahead of time.
Yes, we will. Yes, we.
Always helps.
Representing a community that has numerous fireworks, I can tell you, there's different constituencies on this issue, believe me. I see Vinny shaking his head yes as well. Some dogs don't really react well to the exploding fireworks and things, so, but I think that, can you handle that through the permit?
Yes, yes, we
Okay,
can.
that'll be handled through the permit, but I think, Kevin, obviously, there's gonna have to be a permit from the town or something.
Correct. Okay. We'll make sure that even before we would issue our facilities permit, that they have everything in place, and we will certainly work with the town to make sure that they have everything that they need.
perfect. Thank you.
All right, then, can we call the question then? I don't think we've called the question yet, have we?
No.
And this is just on amending the contract.
Just on amending the
Yes.
contract.
Correct.
Kevin will handle the fireworks through his permitting powers. All right, then, all those in favor of amending the contract as discussed, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Excellent. Thanks, Andrew.
So next item we have is item for discussion, and we have to have Kristen Wild here from Upyana, and Kristen's going to give us kind of a recap of 2024 and possibly even a look ahead to maybe things that she's got going on for 2025.
Sounds good. Yes, Dean handed out just kind of a little overview of how the past year went at Upyanda Farm. Our visitation numbers are great. We're right where we kind of usually are. We average about 10,000 visitors a year at Upyanda. We conducted just over 300 programs, the majority of those being for our local schools. So lots of school children are coming through. That is the kind of bulk of our visitation at Upyanda. Just over 2,000, close to 3,000 students coming on the grounds for programs. And then just some highlights there of things that we have been working on. We continue to have some great events. We are in the works of planning our Maple Festival for this year, which will be held on March 8th. So we'll be gearing up pretty soon here to tap the trees and produce maple syrup. So that's a great event that we get a lot of people coming to just in a single day. We've been working on some great partnerships. We've been working with Soil and Water on a forest management plan, and I've been working with Don Sleeman. He's going to actually be putting out a press release and stuff on some of the results of that plan, and that's going to help kind of move us forward for some planning of the property, of kind of what to do to help manage some of the acreage of forest that we have on the property. We continue to kind of partner with Land Conservancy with a Discovery Series hiking programming with them. We lead hikes on their preserves throughout the year, which actually the first one will be the end of February, so we'll gear up hopefully on snowshoes. We are very much wishing for snow right now, to get those snowshoes out there. And yeah, just, we have a great, friends group that have been helping to do some fundraising, to kind of contribute to some of the other programming and events we do. And then kind of the big, piece, today is, that we were awarded, some grant funding from New York State Parks, Recreation and Historic Preservation in the amount of $83,000 and some in there, to do some kind of behind the scenes work, in our museum and auditorium. So our museum, houses, taxidermy display, hands-on exhibits and stuff. We do bring the children in for programming, in that space, as well as our auditorium where we do it's kind of an open room for our programs. Right now, we don't have air conditioning in the museum, so it's not the best climate controlled environment for the taxidermy and bringing large groups of children in. So this grant is going to allow us to fund new HVAC systems in those in those buildings, along with backup generators. Being in Bolton, I tend to lose power every once in a while. And that way, if I do have a group on site, I can still conduct programs in the event we do lose power for a little bit. So that we'll have backup generators in those areas. And then this funding will also be used a little bit to enhance our kind of courtyard area right in front of the museum and auditorium to kind of just make it a little bit more inviting, increase access. Right now it's gravel and everything's at different levels and weird turns for entrances. And so we'll use some of this funding to kind of enhance that. So we've been awarded the grant, contracting for that grant. We're looking at April, and then we'll kind of work through our timeline on that. So we'll have some kind of behind the scenes work in addition to continuing ramping up these programs. Lots of schools already booking for their end of year field trips, and our summer is going to be very busy as well.
I just want to say thank you to Kristen and the staff at Up Yonder Farm and Dean. Since Kristen has came on board, we have seen a significant turnaround in our numbers for Up Yonder Farm. She's brought in many more programs. She certainly brought in much more funding. This is the second round of CBGA grant funding that we brought into Up Yonder Farm. So I can't say enough good things about what Kristen and the staff and with Dean's leadership that they've done at Up Yonder Farm. So thank you.
Excellent, excellent report as well. Thank you.
And the last thing that we have on there, which I'm going to turn over to Dean, is to discuss the North Creek Railroad Station roof and siding improvements.
Yeah, the whole thing, throw it at. I just really quick want to just acknowledge that will be taking place. That was approved, that CFA funding that the planning department had gone after with Ethan and Dave Nelson has been approved. We've had a preliminary meeting discussing getting our things in order. And as the last couple of committee meetings stated, when that paperwork rolls out and we're ready to attack, but we're formalizing the attack plan. The purpose is to replace the existing historically present cedar roof and take care of the siding, that paint that may have some abatement needs to it as well. And it's gotten to the stage where I mean, if you're there and you've seen it, it shows its sign. So it was a much needed improvement, and we're very fortunate to have that funding come through. So
I'm very happy that the work that's been going on between your department and the planning office, I think, is just really quite excellent. And we're really seeing some dividends from that. And I think we're going to be seeing more in the future. Keep up the good work.
thank you.
Anything else?
Now for that, we'll go into DPW.
Okay, as we go into DPW, I just would like to announce that for those that may not have been here earlier, for facilities, that Mr. Hajos has been elected president of the New York State Highways Association. So
Congratulations or condolences.
Not sure which yet. I'll let you know.
Please, probably in about 3 months, you'll be able to tell me.
We're
Thank
all-
you.
We're all gonna see a lot more state money, right?
Yeah.
So on that note, I'm going February 6th to testify down at the LOB with the legislator for the transportation finance hearings.
And just before I forget, I just would like to remind the supervisors that their ethics filing and their financial filings are due by the end of the month. There's only a little time left. So those of you that have not complied with the financial filing and the ethics filing, please do so. All righty? You bet. All right, what's the next item, Kevin?
The first item we have on there is a action agenda item is a request to transfer funds. This is to take some funding that we have in one of the road projects and move it to our crack sealing project, which we had known that we had a little extra, so we moved it into doing some more crack sealing to our roads this year. And that's one of the preventive maintenance items that we use usually on a 2 to 3 year old road when we start to get some of those transverse cracks or alligator cracking, we get them sealed right away, so we do not get that water penetration in there. So that's we just were able to transfer that money to do we did a couple more projects during
Let's bring this forward for consideration. Mr. Bruno, Mr. Bean on second. Any further discussion?
Well, it's a good,
Use of funds, it
Very good.
helps. Prevent or maintenance.
Mhm. Well, it definitely increases the life of the road.
It does.
All right, then. All those in favor of the motion to approve the transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next item, Kevin.
So this, as I did in facilities, I'll do here, I sort of have a state of the DPW address, just to kind of go through 2024 projects. Talk about 2025 culvert assessment, federal aid projects, and last but not least, the Sagamore retaining wall. So first and foremost, 2024 project, we had completed 5 projects related to storm damage. That was the Trout Lake Road in the town of Bolton, Bolton Landing River Brain County Route 11 at Valley Woods and at New Vermont, Paul Street at Hartman Loop, and Palisades Road at Curtis Reed. All those projects were different size culvert projects. They were all completed by the end of 2024. We have some pavement work to do come spring of 2025 on County Route 11. But that's just, it's minor work, and that was over one of the culverts that we had a little bit of settling. Highway projects for 2024, we were able to get done Schroon River Road in the town of Warrensburg, River Street in the town of Warrensburg, Blind Rock and Haviland Road in the town of Queensbury, Palisades Road in the town of Horicon, Peaceful Valley Road in the town of Johnsburg, Diamond Point Road in the town of Lake George, which they do have a punch list items to come back and work on in the spring. Golf Course Road in the town of Warrensburg, South Johnsburg Road in the town of Johnsburg, and Main Street reconstruction, which was only 7 years or 8 years in the running. We finally got that project completed up in North Creek. Bridge project for this past year, as you all know, because I brought it back through committee a couple months ago, the Middleton Bridge. The Middleton Bridge that has been closed since 2008. We got a letter from DOT structures that it wasn't even an inspection report. They wouldn't even go out on the bridge to do an inspection on that bridge. So they provided us a letter that really said that they were concerned that a heavy wind could bring that bridge down into it's one of the reasons why it was closed. Could have brought it down into the river. They wanted us to go through the process of setting up signage for kayakers or canoers coming down the river that they would have to portage around the bridge. We had discussed that with them and said, that's not the scenario that we want to do. Now, this is a federal aid project. It's still in the process of doing what they refer to as a Section 4F. And that's all part of the design report for historic preservation and environmental issues. As you recall, that's one of the ones that Senator Steck and Assemblyman Simpson helped us to get a land bank with DEC because The proposal to move it was about a mile north, which was on State Forest Preserve, so we were required to get some type of land bank in place first. So that, we still haven't finalized design report with that, but with that being said, we spoke with DOT and the local projects bureau for the federal aid project, which that bridge fell under, and said, you know, we're getting this from structures that this bridge should not be there. So we worked out an agreement with DEC. They allowed us beyond their normal permit times to basically have a contractor come in, drop the bridge into the river, and then pull it out, cut it up, and remove the bridge. So there is no longer a Middleton Bridge standing there anymore. We've barricaded the area back off again, so certainly no one would pull in there. They couldn't have before anyways, but, and then I will keep you posted as to the federal aid project, but it's not necessarily on the top of the list right now. And there's currently no funding for the reconstruction of that bridge. The only funding that's in place right now is for the design report to get it to preliminary design and to final design, but then there's no construction funding as of yet. The tip updates are coming soon, so we'll see if construction money will be available for that. So with that being said, 2025 projects, there is a tip update coming with AGFTC. Again, I talked about the bridge. We also have 3 other bridges that we're looking to get on that tip update, which would be Gill Road in the town of Stony Creek over Roaring Branch, States Road East in the town of Stony Creek over Stony Creek, and Smith Road over 13 Brook in the town of Johnsburg. So those are the bridge projects that we got going up onto the tip, or we're going to talk about with at our Glens Falls Transportation Council. Road projects for federal aid projects would be Dix Avenue, Glens Falls City Line to Quaker Road, Bay Road from the Glens Falls City Line to Quaker Road, and then Glenwood Avenue, the entire stretch from US 9 to Quaker, and then from Quaker to Bay Road. County culvert assessment. As you all know, I talked about it last year, and you approved a bonding of $12.5 million for some of the culvert work. All said and done, and I think I was talking about 1,500 culverts, give or take, that we had within Warren County. When they got done doing the culvert assessment, we have 1,783 culverts. Some of those there's probably 75% of them that are small culverts, anywhere from 12-inch up to say 30-inch or maybe even 36-inch, and then the remainder are from 36-inch on to our much larger projects that are 12, 15, 18-foot culverts. Right now, the data compilation work is underway with the delivery of the database delivered to us by the end of February. And then construction will begin on some culverts with that bonding money in 2025 based on prioritization of those culverts. That's the next step for us, is to what's the immediate need, what's the 2-year, 5-year, 10-year need down the road for those culverts. So some of that work will be done by highway crews, and then my own highway crews, and then when we get into some of the larger projects, we will most likely put those out to bid. Sagamore Road retaining wall project. It's currently underway with a substantial completion date scheduled for May of this year, before the season starts. Corinth Road, County Route 20 over Clendon Brook. This is in the town of Queensbury. Construction for that project will start, construction contract was awarded in fall of 2024. And then the construction will begin spring of 2025. We held off on that project because the town of Queensbury was doing their own culvert project on Luzerne Road, and they were using our road for a detour. So we had to wait for that project or for that one to be completed. There will be an offsite detour for that because now we'll use their road, and there will be a temporary bypass that we've discussed with the town of Queensbury Water Department to reroute the water line through that area while they're doing the construction work. The annual paving projects for 2025, their project estimates are being developed right now, and we anticipate bidding probably sometime late in February. So that we'll have our bids probably out for 3 weeks. We'll know in the very beginning of March what our bid numbers come in for those projects. And then we are working currently on several in-house DPW highway crew projects to address scour, erosion, and some other element-specific type work for our bridges throughout the county. And that's all I had.
All right, I mean, think about that for a moment, 1,783 culverts, and for giving an example, that one culvert on County Route 11 was how deep from the road surface?
Almost 28 feet down.
It's 28 feet. You could put a house in there and you wouldn't see the top of the house, so these culverts could be very, very, very difficult to get at and very, very, very expensive. Kevin?
Yeah, just to add on to that, and I recall, I think, having a conversation with Supervisor Thomas regarding how much money we would need for this culvert work. And I guess my line was, how much can you stomach? Because there's, with that many culverts, and a perfect example is the 5 that we had last year alone that were due to the storm, 5 culverts, $5 million. Pretty close to $5 million. So this $12.5 million, as I talked about, is a good start. But this will, I will say it right here, so everybody hears it, this will not be the end. This will not be the end.
But I think though, if I might, that, I mean, the fact that you've inventoried all of them and you've assessed them as well.
That's the rest of the database that's coming through, and then we can prioritize
Then
how
you
we
can
will work it on.
prioritize now, you will update the counties, through the planning, the counties,
GIS,
GIS.
yes, it will be put on there. Yep.
That would be great, because then they'll map it and everything else, and then people, it'll all be in a public spot, and, very good. Anyone else? Treasurer?
Good question, thank you. Kevin, did they give you, I know that the assessment's not gonna be done till the end of February, and I know we started with the 12 million. Have they given you any kind of total number?
Nope. Probably by the end of February, we'll have that.
All right, then. Any other business to come before the committee? Anyone wishing to address the committee? Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Strainer, Mr. Bruno on the second. All those in favor of adjourning,